the more common questions we get here in the store is, which do you prefer between blowback and non-blowback gas guns? Well, just to specify that a little bit better, a blowback gun is every time you pull the trigger, the gas is released that actually not only drives the BB down the barrel, but also forces the slide backwards, giving you a feeling of recoil and also a certain amount of realism because it actually loads itself just like a real gun. The non-blowback variety, every time you shoot it, nothing actually moves on it. The hammer just strikes, the bullet goes down the barrel, but nothing on the gun physically moves. People ask me, which do I prefer? And the answer is, well, it really depends on what's the reason for shooting. One of the really great things about Airsoft is that it's a great training tool. If you've got a brand new shooter that's just getting into marksmanship, but you don't quite want to put a real gun in their hands yet, Airsoft guns are a great way to start. One of the things is that they're the full-size guns, they have the real feel, dimensions, and they work just the same as the real gun, so they can get used to the basics like sight alignment, breathing, trigger pull, all that kind of stuff. And yet you can do it with a certain amount of safety, knowing that if they mess something up, they're not going to blow a hole in the wall or shoot somebody by accident. So it gives you a certain amount of realism so that once you progress to the point where they're ready to start shooting real guns, they have a certain amount of comfort that they've already built up shooting Airsoft guns. So when it comes to adding realism to your airsoft shooting, nothing comes close to what blowback guns can do for you. The problem is that realism comes at a cost. There's a lot of moving parts inside of these guns that are necessary to cause the gun to operate like a real firearm. Inside of it, there are all kinds of moving pistons and cylinders that are subject to all kinds of wear and tear and can frequently break down. Now, when it comes to gas blowback guns, we do a lot of repairs here at Replay Sports, both for people that buy them here or people that buy them from other places on the internet. And I'm talking about fairly well-made, well-designed guns that are just simply very maintenance-oriented, and you have to take a lot of care to keep them running properly, versus the non-blowback gas guns, which have very few moving parts in them. They require very little maintenance, and they will basically keep running forever. There's very few parts to break down in these. So if you're looking for a gun that's going to last longer and not need as much maintenance, I definitely recommend the non-blowback guns. One other thing I think is worth mentioning is that the cost of actually shooting a gas blowback gun is a lot more than shooting a non-blowback gun. Reason being, every time you fire a blowback gun, it takes twice as much gas to drive the cylinder and the slide backwards and forward, and also shoot the BB down the barrel. You know, when you consider that a can of this stuff is about $17 a can, it's certainly worth at least considering when you're trying to decide whether to buy a blowback or a non-blowback gas gun. So you just need to consider what kind of shooting you're doing when you're deciding on which kind of gun you want. If you want the realism, go with the blowback. If you want something that's going to be a little more economical and a little less maintenance oriented, go with the non-blowback gas gun. My name is Chris, and we'll see you next time here at Replay Sports. So that's about it for today. Side of it. Basically, you have a hammer, and most of the but just simply are very maintenance critical or maintenance oriented. On the internet, and they, worn the guns down, whatever, blah blah blah. Oriented, you have to take care of them a lot, blah 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 blah. Small moving parts inside of these things that are necessary to give you that realistic, whatever the fuck I'm thinking of.